Hey everyone, this is Joey with 22 Halo Media, and today we're going to be going over some crucial steps to take after creating a new Linux VM in Oracle VirtualBox. So I have my Linux VM right here. Let's go ahead and just full screen it, and I'll click inside the VM and sign in. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up the terminal, and I'm going to full screen the terminal. And the very first thing that we're going to want to do is make sure that all of our packages are up to date. So I'll do that by doing a sudo dnf upgrade -y for yes. And then I have to put in my sudoers password. That's just going to be the password for your user as long as you checked that that user's administrator when you first created it. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and install the VirtualBox Guest Editions. And what that does is it makes it so we don't have to click Control every single time we want to get out of the virtual machine. It also helps with the resizing of the guest display so there isn't all this gray space. And it does a bunch of other stuff, but those are the main things you'll notice. So what you'll need to do is come up to the toolbar and then go to Devices and click on Insert Guest Editions CD Image. And you'll notice right here that it'll prompt you, that it contains software intended to automatically be started. Do you want to run it? Don't run it yet because we need to do something first. So go ahead and click cancel. And we actually need to install something, the kernel development tools, to be able to run this and actually have it install correctly. And along with the kernel development tools, we're also going to install some extra packages through the EPEL release package. So you'll put in EPL release and then kernel devel. And if you have a hard time reading this, there is going to be a link to a Google document that's going to have all the commands for every step I'm taking. So we'll go ahead and run that now. And we got to put the password in again. All right, so once that's finished, you can go ahead and run it. I'm just going to do it from the command line. So again, we'll put in sudo, and then I'll put an ampersand, which indicates that we're going to be running this as like an executable. And the file path, it's going to be in run media, and then it's going to be the name of your user. For me, that's 22 Halo. And then if you type in V and just click on tab, it'll auto-complete it for you. And it's going to be auto, and then auto-complete it with the tab, and it'll be autorun.sh for a shell file. I'll click enter, and then I have to type in the password again. Now it's going to go ahead and install VirtualBox Guest Editions. We just installed the kernel headers, so what we might need to do is actually restart the computer and then run guest editions. Um, so we'll go ahead and do that. But first, another thing that you may want to do after creating a new Linux VM is changing your host name. So right now your host name is set as localhost, and something that you may just want to change it to something else. For me, I'm going to go ahead and change it to uh, media. So I'll type in sudo hostname ctl set hostname, and then you put in the hostname you want. For me, that's going to be media. All right, and then I'm just going to go ahead and do a sudo reboot now. So reboot the virtual machine. All right, so as you could see, after rebooting the VM, it went ahead and auto resized, just like I was talking about earlier. So now uh, you don't have to press Control when whenever you get out of the VM. You don't have to press Control like you used to, and then also the VM will fill up the entire box. So it's just a lot better experience. So we'll go ahead and sign in now. So far what we've done is we've upgraded our system, we've installed VirtualBox guest editions, and we've changed our host name. So the next thing that I want to do is to install something called GNOME Tweaks. And the reason why we want to install this is mainly to add minimize and maximize tile bars or window options. Like if I open up Firefox, let me show you something real quick. This is the first thing I noticed when I used Rocky for the first time is with GNOME on Rocky, there is a little arrow here when you're probably used to having the minimize and maximize options. So if I click this, what that's going to do is just tell me the tabs. And you really only have the option of pressing F11 to make it full screen or like resizing it using by going to the edge of the window and resizing it that way, which that just isn't good enough for me. I would rather have the maximize and minimize tile bars. So the way that you could do that is installing GNOME tweaks. And I've been using the terminal for this stuff, but I do want to also make known that there is something called software. And if you would prefer to use a GUI to do all of your to find the software, you can just type in GNOME tweaks. And you see it's the very first thing that comes up. And you can just click on it, install here. But I'm going to show you how to install it through the terminal. You can see as well that the host name has changed. So let me make this a little bit bigger. Yeah, you can see right here that the host name has changed from localhost to media. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and do a sudo dnf install gnome tweaks. And then I'll put in the username and password. There we go. And this time I forgot to put in the -y. So I do have to actually put in the prompt, a Y for yes, and go ahead and install it. So really quick install, it's not a very big package. So if I go to type here the search and I type in tweaks, you're going to see that there's going to be an app now called Tweaks. And then what I'm going to do is go to Windows, title bars, and I'm going to turn maximize on, and you can see that the maximize just got added, and I'm going to turn minimize on, just like that. So now we can maximize and minimize our windows, which that really is really important to me. Something else that you could do in tweaks, like I won't do a full tweaks overview, but you can change like your workspaces, you can change Windows. It really gives you a lot of options to change pretty much everything. Fonts, appearance, general. If there's anything that you can't do in tweaks, then you'll want to install GNOME extensions, and you could do stuff like add a taskbar if you're like familiar with the Windows taskbar. So maybe I'll make a video on that in the future. But for today, I'm going to go ahead and keep moving forward. So the next thing that I think is crucial when installing a new virtual machine as a workstation is you want to have automatic security updates. So you could log in and just do like a sudo DNF upgrade every time you log in, but if you're like me, you would rather have the updates be automatic. So I'm going to do a sudo DNF install DNF automatic. And then we got to edit the configuration file. By default, it's gonna every day at 6 a.m. it's gonna check for updates as long as the machine is on. But if you want to change that, you can go ahead and go into the configuration file using whatever editor you want. I'm going to use Vim, but if you have never used Vim before, I would recommend maybe using like Nano. But you'll go into the configuration file, which is going to be etcdnfautomatic.conf. And you can see here that there's going to be a few settings. Like it's going to ask whether updates should be downloaded if they're available. It asks if they should be applied if they're available. And for me personally, I want this. So I'm going to say yes, they should be applied. I'm going to go ahead and write that. And you can even set up an email address if you want to be able to receive email notifications when there's new updates and upgrades. You would need to set up like an SMTP server to be able to do that. So I'm not gonna do emails personally, but that is something that you can do. So I'm gonna go ahead and quit. And now what we want to do is actually enable the timer. So to do that, you'll type in sudo system ctl enable now DNF automatic timer or automatic.timer, and that'll be the systemd service. So you can see it created a symlink, and now it is available. And you'll type in sudo system ctl list timers all, and you can just grep for a pattern DNF automatic, and this is going to list out all the timers by systemd, and then just search for the pattern DNF automatic. And all this is doing is showing you that yes, there is a a systemd service, DNF automatic timer, and in about 20 hours it'll go ahead and do its job again. So now what you'll want to do is if you ever wanted to edit the time and like how like right now it's set daily at 6 a.m. this timer is going to go off. But if you want to edit that, you can do a sudo systemctl edit DNF automatic dot timer, and then you're able to change the default settings if you'd like. So as you can see, every day during the week at 6 a.m. It's going to go off, and that's what I want. So I'm not going to change anything. But just know that if you wanted to change it, you could go ahead and open this file, make the change, and then just go ahead and save the buffer. So finally, if you want to check like the next day to see, okay, did this timer actually go off or not, you can check your logs by doing a journal CTLU DNF automatic, and it's not going to show any log entries right now, but if we check this at a later date, it would. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is go ahead and install Chrome. I don't, Firefox comes pre-installed, but I'm a Gmail user, and I do use Chrome for a lot of tasks. So you can go ahead and substitute this part in with whatever preferred browser you have, but for me, that's going to be Chrome. So to install Chrome, you could uh, go on the internet and just install the Debian file. But instead, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna import the GPG key, and then we're going to just wget the current RPM file and do a local install of it. So let's go ahead and do that with a sudo RPM import, and I'm going to be reading my command off the screen. So from Google's distribution list, we'll be in their Linux folder. We'll grab the Linux signing key .pub. So went ahead and imported that, and then we're going to use wget to, again, from Google's distribution list. What we're going to do is go ahead and make an HTTP request to get their latest stable release for Red Hat Chrome. So Google Chrome stable current, and then it's going to be 64-bit architecture .rpm. Okay, that should be correct. All right. So yep, it's going to go ahead and grab that from the internet. Okay, so once that is on your machine, what you can do is a sudo dnf local install Google Chrome stable, and you can autocomplete this probably. Yep, so tab to autocomplete it, and this will install the dependencies and Google Chrome. All right, so now you'll see if you go ahead and search in the GNOME dashboard, you'll see that Google Chrome is installed now. So if I go ahead and click on it, it should launch fine. It's going to ask if I want to make Chrome the default browser and send usage statistics and crash reports. I will. I'm okay with both of those things. So I'll allow it to do that. So they can make Chrome better for Red Hat. And you can see that it is, installed and working now. So I'll go ahead and close that. And then the last thing that we're going to do today that is a crucial step of setting up your Rocky Linux VM is we're going to disallow root access from SSH. And by default, you'll see that, systemctl status SSHD. There we go. So you can see that by default, there is an open SSH server that is running on this machine. So what we want to do is go ahead and disallow root access because there's really we have a sudo user, so there's no reason that root would need to be able to sign in. So you'll use your text editor of choice to go to etc ssh sshd underscore config, and if we just go down in the file, you're going to see this permit root login, and we'll go ahead and uncomment that and then just change this prohibit password to a strict no. And if you wanted to disable clear text passwords as well, you can go ahead and click no here. But I think I'll do a future video a little bit more in depth on doing SSH and setting up SSH tunnels and doing private public key authentication. But that is going to be all for today's video. At this point, you have a pretty good functioning Rocky Linux VM with automatic updates. You have, your browser of choice. You have GNOME tweaks installed if you want to change anything about GNOME. I definitely recommend adding the maximize and minimize buttons. And you also have disallowed root access from a root user to be able to sign into your SSH machine. You've changed your host name to something that is a little bit more unique. For me, it was media. And you also installed VirtualBox guest editions, so you can have a virtual machine that fills up the entire screen. Like if I change it to full screen mode, we could even have it where we don't see the taskbar at the bottom. So overall, you're in a really good place now to use this virtual machine as a workstation, and we'll make more videos in the future about more stuff you could do with VirtualBox and with your Linux virtual machine and maybe even other virtual machines. So thanks for watching. If you have any more ideas on what I could do with this series or any videos you want to watch, go ahead and leave a comment and let me know. Thanks, bye.